How do we do 3-ways on this thing?
I'm not sure, but it sounds kinky. I like 3-ways.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are back by popular demand after 36 people watched the last episode, so we are going to bring you another special edition, this one called the Pro Wrestling Unbound podcast. I am accompanied by the most colorful white guy in the world. He is Rainbow Yaz. What's up, man?
Nothing much, just chilling and getting ready to do this podcast with our glorious overlord.
Oh yeah, that's right, because today we got a special guest. This man reviews 10,000 matches. He's reviewed every single wrestling pay-per-view out there. KB, what's up, man?
Oh, somehow getting dragged into this again.
Dragged in? Wait a minute.
I don't know how... I did this before, I swore I never would again, and yet here I am. It made more sense when I stick with TNA every week.
You do realize there's proof of you complaining that we didn't invite you, right?
No, because I'll delete it.
But I'll know it's there.
Okay, for you, you guys are both gamers. It's like having God mode.
Go print screen that, Yaz.
I'm gonna go do it right now.
Alright, guys, so what you been up to, KB? What are you gonna be up to soon?
Get to go to a funeral tomorrow morning.
Oh, sucks.
Figure I'd set the mood a little bit. Other than that, just got done watching Bobby Lashley stomp people, or a person.
Yeah.
And watching Lucha Underground. Probably going to watch some San Francisco wrestling from the 70s later.
Wow, alright.
So.
Well, on my way home, I was listening to Eddie Guerrero's theme song blaring on my speakers in the car, and next to me pulls a white guy. It was quite hilarious if you listen to the lyrics. Lie, cheat, steal. I don't care if you like me. Everyone wants to fight me. Latino heat.
It's everybody get the words right.
I know the words.
Then why'd you say the wrong one?
You're not listening, that's why.
Smile when you say that.
Of course I'm smiling. I'm always smiling. Yaz, what you been up to?
I went to Louisville today.
Oh.
Why?
My dad and I went to pick up like this pallet of like kitchenwares, and we drove through like 2 monsoons. Like the weather's been crap today.
Well, everything about Louisville is horrible, and it needs to be destroyed. So
Better than Lexington.
Boy, I will hurt you.
Go ahead. You're from Kentucky. You'll miss.
I could go for some Kentucky right now.
I had Kentucky Fried Chicken for dinner.
Oh. All right. Before we get off track, let's start this shindig, because all three of us got through watching Lucha Underground recently. And wow. It was pretty good. And pretty unique and pretty different. So guys, what were your takes on Puma versus Mundo all night long? It was actually just 40 minutes, but whatever.
Yeah. I liked it. It was, it continues to show how Lucha Underground is actually different. It goes very much against, at least modern wrestling style, to have a full show, or to have one match go a full show. I mean, it happened back in 1987 with Wyndham against Flair a couple times, but it's not something that you see any time in modern wrestling. I mean, the closest you'll get is the Iron Man matches with Angle and Lesnar, and then Triple H and Benoit from 10 and 11 years ago. So you just don't see them that often, and it's very, very cool to have something that actually does feel different instead of just the same, like even Ring of Honor, where it's the same basic structure just with more action and less talking, but it's still the same style that you'll see on Raw or Impact.
What about you, Yaz?
I thought it was an amazing match, and I mentioned it in one of our discussions earlier, but I think the match itself really represented what Lucha Underground is really all about. I mean, at its core, it's still wrestling, but it's more than that. It's, you know, they fought all over the temple. They had the band, the in-house band get involved. You had Mundo cutting a promo mid-match. And I think it was really a, you know, unfortunately Mundo lost, and Mundo's my guy. But it was an amazing match, and they really turned up the drama in the last few minutes. And you got the big return of Alberto El Patron coming back, so that sets up a good episode for next week.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of different matches from different companies and all that, but my God, the editing here, the presentation, like from the very beginning, I don't know where they got a shadow over the ring, but there was a shadow over Johnny Mundo while Puma was under the light. Not only that, but the crowd shots were mind-blowing. You could literally hear the ladder nail Puma in the face. You could hear the crowbar, the 2x4 to the face. It was all unbelievable. It was just an amazing match.
Yeah, the crowd shots were amazing. I remember a few points during the match where Mundo was in control and you hear someone in the crowd yell out, "That's a person, Johnny."
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I think it was before the commercial break, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing that the one drawback I had with it was he hit a guy in the head with a crowbar and the guy is back up 5 minutes later. I know it's wrestling, but come on now.
You could definitely tell it was gimmicked.
I could live with it in the ribs, because he hit him in the ribs first. I could live with that, but it was just kind of like, really? It's a bit of a stretch. That and pinning Mundo 4 times in 12 minutes was a little much.
Yeah, I felt that was a much myself.
It fit the story of the match, but I think they would have been better off to have it be 4-2. Also, Matt Striker, for the love of God, going from 3 falls to 2 is not cutting the lead in half. I cannot stand that man. I'm fine with him a lot of the time, but when he tries to be too smart for his own good, and he says dumb stuff like that, it drives me insane.
Or name-dropping M. Bison while Mundo's trying to cut a promo with the band.
Well, the guy did look like M. Bison, you gotta give him that. I actually chuckled at that one.
He just comes up with such hilarious things, although the commentary by the end got really good with both of them panicking. I mean,
yeah, when they get serious, they're good. It's when Stryker tries to get too cute.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, very good match. It felt they're really nailing the entertainment aspect of it instead of just the wrestling, which is a very nice change of pace. So it helps that Cueto is usually awesome. It's smart. They were smart enough to hire an actor to play it.
Yeah.
Which helps so much.
Yeah, and you know, all that's getting actually really well rewarded because this show has been nominated for an Emmy.
That's insane. You never hear about that, although I don't give it a chance to win. Also, I don't think it's the official. It's like the short list of things that could get nominated.
Yeah.
So it's not actually a nomination. It's more like in contention for a nomination. But still, it's further than Raw is ever going to get.
Definitely. Poor Raw. But the show's presentation is just marvelous. I don't know if you guys see the week before, the episode from the week before, which focuses on Drago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am so sucked into this whole Black Lotus story. It makes no sense, and it's so insane and over the top, but I love it. It fits Lucha Underground so perfectly.
Definitely does. But now we're moving on.
Also, the fact that that Chavo, based on his promos, has all of Mexico mad at him. Not just people in Mexico or a Mexican gang. It's all of Mexico wants to kill.
It just sounds like Mexico's just one person. It's just one guy that's chasing him who happens to be called Mexico.
And he picks he gets the 2 members of the crew as his enforcers, which is, if nothing else, now that there's only 2 and they at least dress differently, I can tell them apart.
It's kind of amazing. One of them got eaten on television. You don't see that in wrestling.
No, you don't. If nothing else, I'm glad that I can tell them apart. I've been criticized before for saying it's the wrong guy, to which my response is, what difference does it make? It's like saying I have the wrong Uso. They're the same people.
Yeah, the only one of those 3 that looks any different is Cortez Castro, because we know him from before, from other places. But
yeah, but I mean, they wrestle the same style. None of them do anything differently. What difference does it make what I call them?
I don't know.
Sorry, I deal with stupid commenters a lot.
Alright, well, anyway, we got this apparent rumor going around that TNA's trying to make a play for Rey Mysterio. This is apparently something that has come straight out of Dixie Carter and Jim Gaborik. They want to pitch him to come by so he can sell some merchandise, making him more visible because he'll be on the American market and all that. What do you guys think on that?
It fits TNA perfectly. He's way past his prime. He's still usable, but it just, my goodness. instead of bringing in more people, even though Ray would be the biggest star that they have, you guys need to worry about staying on the air, not bringing in new talent right now. Last night's show really soured me on them. You can see that they've pretty much given up, and it's Dixie Carter, so she'll find a way to screw it up.
Dixie. What about you, Yaz? What do you think about Rey Mysterio and TNA?
I don't know how big a push they're compared to whenever they went after Alberto. I don't know how big the pushes compare, but like KB said, it's TNA incarnate. They're going after someone who's past his prime when they have guys on their roster that they can't even pay. I think like you said, they need to focus on staying on TV. They have usable stars, they have some name guys and they have some good talent. But just continually going after, WWE cast-offs, it's not a good look for them.
Well, I don't know if I call Mysterio a cast-off. He used to work there, but Mysterio's a bigger star than most of the cast-offs they bring in. And to be fair, the last two cast-offs that they've picked up have done very, very well for them. The problem is with Mysterio, financially, I don't know if they can bring it in. He's going to cost a fortune. And if TNA's money issues are like they say they are, then that's another guy who probably won't stay around long, and you can't count on being healthy, that is going to take another main event spot, which they're bad enough right now about not elevating people to the main event. Though Carter is a nice addition, assuming we can ever actually see the match, because they can't just put it on pay-per-view like a sane company would do.
Well, at the very least, Ray's been doing pretty well in AAA, which has been in talks with TNA, so there might be some compensation there on the money.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't hate the idea of bringing Ray in. It's not like they're bringing in, I don't know, Charlie Haas. It's someone who has a legitimate main event level to them. Though, with how banged up he is, I don't know how much you can really expect it, how long you can expect him to last.
It'll probably be a special attraction deal like AAA does.
It could be.
Yeah, but speaking of TNA, they've got issues with Destination America. Some unbelievable ones, because Slammiversary's this week's show was supposed to be live today. But they got a monkey wrench thrown at them, and now they have to tape before the pay-per-view.
Yeah, okay, so I've ranted on this quite a bit already, and yes, I'm sorry I keep cutting you off if you ever wanted to go.
Fine, really.
The problem is, they want to avoid the spoiler. They're going to spoil. The pay-per-view is going to be worthless. There's a single Impact left, and they have their main event apparently is going to be the King of the Mountain match. In theory, they're going to have the finals of the tag team series, which they're doing Full Metal Mayhem this coming week. So I don't know what they're going to do for the final match of the series that's going to top Full Metal Mayhem. And then the X title match is going to be Wednesday. They seem to be building to 3 different shows right now, with the live special this week, then Slammiversary, then the big July 1st show, and and Slammiversary is getting the short end of the stick. Why would I want to pay for this show? I get the idea of focusing on TV, but when you have the pay-per-view, don't screw around with it and make yourselves look like idiots like you did with Bound for Glory. It's the same continued pattern of TNA screwing up every single thing that they touch, and just through lack of planning and focus on it. And it's very, very frustrating stuff.
It's a pity too. It's like they're trying to build a house, and halfway through it they just knock some sort of beam over, and it just collapses all over them.
Yeah, pretty much. And then they just kind of smile and pretend like everything's okay. And wonder why everyone is treating them like a second-rate promotion.
Yeah, as an all-time fan of TNA, I've always been quite the hater of Dixie Carter. She has never been bright.
I think she's bright. I think she's not bright at running a wrestling company.
No, definitely. You could see it too. Well, actually, I did remember emailing her about whether she'd go to Puerto Rico. I told her, well, there's these wrestling shows that are hitting like 3,000, and I thought that would be good for tapings. Her answer was talking about television, which I did not mention at all.
You'll get a lot of canned responses from stuff like that, and when she was on Austin's podcast, she comes across as a very bright, likable person, and she just doesn't seem to get it. I mean, it's one of those things where it's not even just the booking, because the TV product has been pretty good. It's just how every single time you keep seeing mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake, and there comes a point where the main common factor in this is Dixie. And how do they keep screwing this up time after time after time?
We'll see. Hopefully, well, I doubt this guy Smashing Pumpkins is going to save it, but who knows?
Well, he does seem to be a guy that knows his stuff, which will help a lot. But again, it's not going to matter if, like I said, the TV product has been good. It doesn't matter, though, if everything behind the scenes is such a disaster.
Well, it seems in the horizon, though, is a contingency plan for Destination America because, well, they hooked up with ROH, and now they're both in the same channel.
They are, and the shows have been good. I haven't seen this week's yet, but I have it recorded. One of the problems for Ring of Honor right now is everything is still that, what is it? Not War of the Worlds, but the show that they're doing.
Best in the World?
You know the one. Global Wars. That's it.
Oh.
Where it's still the New Japan guys in there, and that kind of presents a problem, but it's not really a problem they can solve because they didn't have their new taping cycle. Will begin. I'm assuming right after Best in the World, which is airing
right now.
Right now. So I mean, it's going to present a slight problem because some fans might think that the New Japan guys are permanent fixtures, but at least they've been entertaining shows. I mean, for an hour-long show, they're fine. They're not mind-blowing or anything, but they're good. I'm sure Dragon Saga will be in here later to explain to me every single thing that I just said wrong and praise Ring of Honor until the end of time, but that's why I don't do Ring of Honor LDs.
Oh. Funny enough, that pay-per-view was scheduled with the intention of running against Impact. That's quite an ironic twist.
Yeah, well, I mean, it amazes me. Those companies started within 4 months of each other, and Ring of Honor, this is one of the first times they've really gone net. I mean, they had HD Net for a while, but that's a very low-level network. So they're going in the right direction, and it's very nice to see someone succeeding. TNA just seems to have been hanging on now for a lot longer than they've been doing anything else. So it's nice to see somebody having some success.
I guess, but to me, ROH still television doesn't really enthrall me.
It doesn't with me either, but it's not my style. I've tried it a couple times, and I'll probably stick with it for a little while, but I mean, it's just never been my thing. It's good. I don't dislike it or anything. It's just never been my thing. Now that they've finally gotten away from, I remember when they started on the Sinclair networks, and they started with Davey Richards and Eddie Edwards arguing over who Dan Severn was gonna manage at Final Battle.
Good grief! Did he still have the mustache?
Yeah, and just you guys are arguing. It was enough to get me to quit watching after about 9 weeks. I mean, I sat through every episode of Nitro and Thunder back in the day and smiled at them, but Ring of Honor chased me off in 3 months.
Wow. Yaz, any thoughts on the Destination America saga?
Nothing crazy, like, I do think it's odd to have 2 wrestling shows on one network, especially, when they have no sort of working agreement with each other, but, I'll try to get more into Ring of Honor, but I don't really see myself being that interested in it. I'd hate to see TNA go under, but unfortunately, it does appear they're kind of headed that direction.
Well, I mean, they're from what I've heard, they're going to be their TV runs until September. Now, after that, I don't know where they're going to air the shows or where they're going to get the money to keep the shows going. I mean, they seem to be barely afloat as it is, but YouTube, maybe? I mean, what else really can they do? I mean, this will be the second network they've been thrown off in a year.
Yeah, that's not good for business.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there comes a point where they've lost. They 10 years ago, or about 12 years ago, whatever it was when they started, 13 years ago, they were handed the ECW and WCW audiences and have run them off in very short order, which takes real talent, as loyal as those fans were. And there is one heck of a book to be written about how horribly run that company was. And I have a feeling, what's his name? The guy that wrote the Death of WCW, RD, whatever his name is, not RD yet.
Brian Alvarez.
Yeah, and the other guy that writes with him, that they probably have it all written, except for the final blow.
Probably. They sure like to talk about it.
Yeah.
But speaking of ROH, they've got the Bullet Club running around, which has been, I'm guessing, the biggest draw that's not related to the WWE. I don't think I've ever heard you really talk about them, though.
I like what I've seen, though. I mean, New Japan, I like watching it in small doses, but I really can't get into it full time. For one thing, the shows are like 4.5 hours long.
Oh, they're a chore.
And the lack of stories makes it hard for me. I mean, at least when I watch AAA, I speak enough Spanish to be able to pick up on the basic idea. Whereas with New Japan, it's so focused on in-ring that it's really, really hard to keep up with what's going on. It's still entertaining. Bullet Club, specifically, I like the idea with all the foreigners coming in and just taking over. I still don't get the Young Bucks. I know I get yelled at a lot for it. I don't get it with them.
Don't worry, we're both in that same boat, too.
They're fun. The Bullet Club is fun. I like what I've seen with them. But it seems like one of those things where it's just cool to like them. So I don't know how much staying power they have. Also, when they were on Ring of Honor last week, they were supposed to be the heels as the invading force, but they were loudly being cheered, which makes for an awkward. It makes for an awkward match.
Yeah, they're NWO right down to being likable heels, and to me, that's probably the biggest turnoff for me.
To a degree, yeah. I don't dislike. It's more kind of indifference for me, where I don't dislike them or like them. It's just kind of like they're there. They seem cool. I don't have anything bad to say about them, but it's just really, I'm kind of indifferent to them.
Yeah, I think same here. What about you, Yaz?
I enjoy some of the members. You know, I'm a fan of Styles. Gallows and Anderson, I think, are pretty solid. And I've always had a soft spot for Kenny Omega. The guy kind of wrestles and draws a lot from video games, so I'm not going to hate on Omega for that. But I kind of agree with KB. I'm more indifferent to them. Like, I don't really watch a lot of New Japan or Ring of Honor. I don't watch enough of it to really form a very strong opinion on them. But every time I go to any local show or the SmackDown taping I went to a few weeks ago, there's always a handful of people with Bullet Club t-shirts, so obviously they're doing something right. You know, they're making their money.
They seem more like kind of a, I don't want to say underground sensation because New Japan is far from underground, but they definitely seem like a, kind of an unknown sensation. They're the closest thing to being underground that you can be in today's wrestling world. Like you said, they're definitely doing something right, and I have liked their matches, though the last match I saw with them had Maria running around, so that had a lot to do with it.
That helps.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, they've been having that feud with the Kingdom for a while. They've been crossing over to New Japan with it. To me, the problem with the Bullet Club is, well, just that they're literally the only heels around in that company, and if you don't like the NWO style attitude, you're not gonna like the product, and it's 4.5 hours to sit through every single show they have.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the idea of booking one show around one storyline, or around one major faction like that. It's cool, it works for a little while, but if, like you said, if you don't like that one story, there is nothing to do. It's what drove me so crazy about Aces and Eights, when that story would dominate Impact week in and week out, and if you didn't like Aces and Eights, you might get 15 minutes a week of stuff you could tolerate. But it was all that, and that seems like almost all you hear out of New Japan anymore, and a lot of ROH is just Bullet Club, Bullet Club, Bullet Club. Which, it's fine in one sense, but it runs the risk of wearing out its welcome very quickly, which they don't seem to have hit that point yet, but it's always a possibility down the line.
Yeah, whether it's with the members or just how they run on a company, it's starting to become a bit of oversaturation at this point.
And yeah, you can only see the same guys doing the same stuff for so long, which, going back to TNA again, is why it's frustrating seeing Sting, Angle, and Hardy hold the world title on and off for all eternity.
Yeah. But Yaz mentioned different house shows and all that. What do you guys think about GWF? It started last week. They brought in the six-sided ring, which Jarrett initially stole from AAA. Now he's coining it as his idea, and his attendance didn't go past 500 people.
It's been 2 house shows. You can only tell so much from 2 house shows. Having them in baseball stadiums is rarely a good idea.
Especially for a TV deal.
Yeah, but I mean, actually someone streamed part of the show using some kind of app that is way too complicated for me. I actually watched part of the debut show. It was an indie show. I've seen hundreds of them that are the exact same thing. There are names here that you would recognize more than others, but it was just kind of there. It's okay. At the end of the day, though, it's been 2 house shows. I have no idea if they're going to be good. I have no idea if they're going to be bad. But they announced this the day after WrestleMania 30, and it took this long to set this up. It seemed like a show they could have probably thrown together in about 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Not to mention, to me, the price for the tickets and the roster, the quality of the roster, I don't know where they're getting money for this. To me, it just doesn't fit. Like, the roster's way too big for the money they're trying to make.
How much were the tickets going for?
I believe 20.
I'm actually going to one of their shows Sunday in Bowling Green, and the tickets were $25 a pop.
That's not too bad, actually.
No.
The Ring of Honor pay-per-view that I went to, I think was $35 general admission. $25 is not that off the charts.
Well, Ring of Honor has the video on demand service, and they also get the payment from Sinclair.
Yeah, I mean, house shows, even WWE house shows rarely make money, but WWE can afford to take the hits on that. Also, it's the way they get their practice. But, I mean, like I said, it's been 2 shows. It's way, way, way too early to form an opinion on them. If you do that, yes, this one's for you. The worst debut match that I've ever seen, by far and away, was Kofi Kingston. It was awful. And the next week he came out and he had a standard Kofi Kingston match, and nobody remembered his previous week. It's the same thing here. It's just so early. You can't get a genuine impression of what you've got out of it.
Well, we'll see what the future holds. I've seen other companies that have had to completely restructure themselves to operate, but we'll see. We'll hope for the best for them.
Yeah.
Next, I wanted to talk about this podcast I heard. It had Hugo Savinovich in it, and he brought out these points that really got to me. Like, for example, he mentioned the talents within the WWE and other promotions that have become like completely entitled. Whenever somebody would scold them for some sort of behavior, they would break out screaming and just misbehavior. At the same time, he also talked about the particular incident with Alberto Del Rio. We're all aware of the whole racism claim and all that. He says it wasn't racism. It was more ignorance. And he quotes JBL, who, when he started working at the company, he literally called everyone Mexican. And it was more of a case of just not knowing better.
Oh, JBL, I don't know what stories you guys have heard. There have been some stories about JBL where that was calling people Mexican like that would be considered a nice day for him. There were some stories of incidents in showers. I'll let you guys put the pieces together in your head.
Oh, did they involve the Miz?
No, if I remember right, it was some low-level guy. It was before Miz was there. But just some violations, shall we say. But I don't know. The thing with Del Rio, it came off to me more like he was looking for a way out and just went nuts over the slightest thing. I don't know what was said to him, obviously. I'm not in a position to know what it's to have many racist comments thrown my way. I'm an average white guy. I don't really know what it's like to have people be racist to me.
Hell, I haven't run into that problem yet.
Yeah. So I mean, it's I don't with the entitled stuff. What kind of stuff is he meaning by entitled?
Like the talent would complain really quick if they were booked to lose or just not pushed or not given a title right away.
I would need to know way more about it than that. If he's talking about someone who had a legitimate background coming in, or as opposed to, like, say, I don't know, a guy like Trent Beretta showing up.
Yeah, it was more about the younger ones, the still inexperienced guys.
In that case, he's probably got a point, but they're not going to last in WWE if that's how they're coming on. So, I mean, WWE will just book you into the ground, and they don't care because they've got a strong enough roster to just keep coming back, to just keep building over and over and over again. Because if WWE wants someone, barring a big surprise, they're going to get them. Because WWE just sign up whoever they want because they have so much more money and so much more exposure. I mean, you hear people talk about competition. There is no competition for them. At least not just in America. No one comes close to them. And it's laughable to hear people say, well, TNA is competition, Ring of Honor is competition. No, they're not. They're not. And I know that's going to get on people's nerves, but it's true. No one is even remotely close. Ring of Honor, if I remember, what was it, 170,000 people watched this week? WWE broke 4 million. WWE, for one episode of Raw, literally had over 20 times the audience. That's not competition.
I'll say this, Lucha Underground at least is in the running for an Emmy, which is something Raw isn't going to get anytime soon.
Yeah, but at the same time, a lot of shows get Emmys and they get canceled. Raw isn't getting canceled anytime soon. Raw got, I think, what was it, $220 million from NBC to stay on the air for another year. I'm not knocking Lucha Underground. I've watched every episode and I love it every week, but
oh, definitely.
It's just WWE competition is not stuff like that. WWE's competition is stuff that's on Fox and ABC and NBC and CBS and networks like that. That's their competition, trying to beat them, not trying to beat other wrestling companies because they've already beaten the other wrestling companies.
Yeah, it's a totally different beast at this point. Anything you want to add to it, Jess?
The only really thing I know about Sabinovich was that he was the Spanish commentator with Carlos Cabrera for a few years, so I'm not the expert on this topic.
I know the other two things I know about him are he was married to Wendy Richter, and I've never liked him.
Oh man, he's my hero. Tangana! That guy's awesome.
I've listened to a couple shows he's commented. I just don't like the guy. I don't know. Maybe it's just the way he does commentary, but I've never liked him.
Oh, he's a lovable loaf. When you meet him in person, he's
awesome. That's probably true. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a nice guy. I just don't like his style. I mean, to be fair, there was a period where I could not stand Jim Ross. He drove me crazy. I would roll my eyes whenever he would show up, but I mean, he's probably the best ever. I just didn't like him. And Savinovich, I just can't stand the guy.
Well, there was one thing that really caught my eye, my ear actually, when he mentioned it. It was the fact that from what he saw and from Vince McMahon's own words, he's no longer really in charge of the company. He has to answer to all the people his sponsors and all that. And at the end of the day, he's no longer the guy who makes the final call on things.
That's not exactly accurate. I would say Vince has to answer to people, but Vince makes the final call of what happens. He just makes those calls with the mindset of he is going to have to answer to sponsors. It may not be the exact direction he wants to go, but he controls the decisions that are made under that direction, which I wouldn't say that's him not being in charge. I mean, if you look at it like that, almost no one has ever been in charge of any company ever. I mean, you have to get down to like me on my website being in charge, if you want to look at someone where it's truly one person in charge of one thing. I mean, Sly and I run the forums, but we do it as per what the admins above us who show up like once a year say. I mean, granted, I don't think they've ever talked to me. I told one of them once, I talked to one of them on an interview once. I mentioned that I had been running the forums. He said, "You have? You're the same person?" "Yeah, I have been for like 4 years now." "Oh, okay. Good to know." But, I mean, he and I are in charge, but, I mean, there's stuff we can't do. But I don't think anyone would argue that we're not the people running the place.
Well, by the way, for those wondering, KB's website is kvwrestlingreviews.com. The forums we're speaking about are forums.wrestlezone.com, just to get those cheap plugs in there.
Yeah, and well, let's just put it bluntly, I'm the star of the forums. I'm smarter than anyone else there. Yes, Sly, that means you. I know you're never going to listen to this in a million years. Yeah, so come.
He's also a modest guy.
Come see me brag about myself, which I'll talk to you guys more about this off the. Maybe the reason you don't see a certain face around there anymore.
Okay, now I'm intrigued.
There's a story there.
Let's move on and talk a little bit about the E-Fed in the WrestleZone forums, which me and Yaz sort of run, but I guess you're in charge of us.
Not really. Again, that would be the same idea with the Vince thing. I can cut you guys off at any time, but I really don't know that. I'm not the best at it, so this might be a chance for me to shut up for once.
Yes, it's turn to talk.
Alright, dude, you take over and start asking what we got here in the script.
Well, the first thing up is, KB, what are some of your thoughts on the current storylines that are going on in the Fed? As far as...
You guys might have to help me out here. I don't really follow that closely. Before we get into this, the E-Fed is WrestleZone Championship Wrestling, which is, if you've never been in an E-Fed before, the idea of it is you create a character and you do what's called role play, RP for short. And you write up your promos, and a group of judges, including my esteemed co-host here, because let's face it, I'm running this thing, they judge.
I'm editing it.
They judge. You do that and I'll fire you. They judge what... they judge who the better character was. And as luck would have it, two of the top stars happen to be on the creative staff. And then they'll write up the matches and just put it together and put together storylines and whatnot like that.
Just to clarify, it's not creative clout.
Sure, why not?
I think I'm a good example that there's no such thing as creative clout. I lose more than I win.
No, you're an example of a guy who chokes a lot.
Sorry.
Get him a snorkel.
Anyway.
Yeah, let's go on.
So these storylines, where were we?
We were starting until you guys interrupted me.
You were the one that's explaining everything.
And I'm not even on the E-Fed staff. Why am I doing your jobs for you? Again, I should be running the place. I do better.
We did it last time. We did it the last show.
But it's you... Continue, before I hurt you both.
You need to calm down, man. We're asking you the questions.
And I just told you, I don't know the storylines.
Okay.
Pay attention.
Yes, what are the current storylines?
Big storyline, the two big storylines as far as Killjoy and I go. Killjoy's character, Matt Tastic, will be defending his world title against the very hot rookie Dorian Slaughter. And the other big storyline, my character, Mikey Stormrage, is coming back from an injury to host an open challenge to any superstar on the roster who is not booked in a match.
Russo's not booking the show, is he?
No.
Then this has a chance of being good.
Well,
we'll start off with the world title. Slaughter got the shot by winning a tournament, as so often happens. He's kind of a religious character who, that's about all I got, which means Yaz runs away screaming from him.
it means I lost to him
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
On the first
in
round.
the first round of the tournament.
I'm not surprised. But
He has been turning the corner into more of a Norse mythology.
let me guess, Yaz was the favorite to win the whole tournament.
No.
No.
But the two times that we've ran the particular tournament, the Gold Rush tournament, the guy who went on to win was the guy who knocked me out, so I can reclaim a little bit of my ego there.
Then who was the favorite to win it?
It was actually Dorian and VJ, who was an Indian Bollywood character.
So, in other words, the former world champion contender, because heaven forbid he ever actually win anything, got knocked out. Wasn't favored against two rookies.
Well, they were hot.
Yaz, don't ever let me down. Don't ever change. I couldn't handle you with any kind of momentum.
Well, it's that's how come I had to start running two characters, because I couldn't pick up enough momentum with one, so I had to run two.
And by the way, I kid Yaz because I tolerate him. It's certainly not love, but
Aw, close enough.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to go with Tastic to retain the title. I really don't know what Matt's character is. Oh, be quiet. I don't really know what his character is, other than he seems to be a plucky guy who just keeps grinding his head into things until it works. Which, prepare to say, the reason I like that is because it reminds me of me, who I got to where I am on the forums by just pounding my head into things until people said that I was good.
That's the Killjoy special.
Oh, it helps to have no gimmick. It actually makes me very versatile when I'm writing my RPs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll see what I have to come up with, because I still have no clue what I'm going to do.
You're going to deliver kick-assery.
My guess
Exactly,
would be,
I'm going to deliver
my guess would be you would write an RP, press submit, and then hope that you get the most votes.
Oh, yeah, thanks. That's exactly how it works. Well, you've been around a hell of a lot longer. Well, not in the EFED, but you've seen most of how it works. So how would you compare it today to previous years?
If we're talking going back 6 or 7 years to when I got there, it's actually run competently. I'm assuming you guys have heard me tell the story of OCW about 35 times now, so I'll spare you the full details of that. But basically, it used to be run horribly, with no one seeming to be able to get anything done, anything on time. I never had actually read a show back then, and I only read my first show 2 or 3 years ago with that awful Iron Man match.
Never let Kermit live it down. Don't let him rise above you.
Oh, don't. I'll forgive you for implying that he could. See, I gotta keep you two on a short leash. It's the only way that if I let you guys have the slightest bit of power, you go crazy. It's why
I'm already crazy.
No, you're actually quite competent compared to most people on there.
Woohoo!
Oh, us.
You've just been downgraded to moderator in training. Would you care to shoot for Barrett Stratton?
Oh my god.
Don't do that.
I can make references. They may not make sense, but they're there. But yeah, it's better than it used to be. I know the membership isn't as strong as it once was, but hopefully some people more people will join. I know there was another application today.
And unless someone has a major objection, it'll be approved. So
Yeah.
go listen.
If you guys get even like 2 or 3 more people in there, it'll probably take care of a lot of your problems.
Yeah, I don't think we're far off from having good numbers.
Right. I mean, it's not like you have 4 people in the whole place.
Yeah.
We're not TNA.
No. And well done. You're back to a full moderator now that you got in a good TNA jab. I appreciate those. Woohoo! Okay, cut that out.
Woohoo!
Boy, you're gonna be in
Anyway,
Kentucky on Sunday. Cut it out. It makes you even
move
easier to
on.
find. I thought about going to that show too, but I'm not driving 2.5 hours for a DWF show.
Well, KB, I gotta ask you something, because we make you review these shows for some inexplicable reason. Because they're written. They're not...
No, they're not. Which makes writing the reviews a lot more complicated, because it's really just repeating what's already on screen and throwing in jokes about it. Which makes for some really long reviews. Because it's really just, like I said, it's just repetition. I don't know why I do this. I seem to think that I don't have enough to do already. I have roughly 5 pages of shows that I need to be reviewing, including those AAA shows, which are now near the top of my list. I know I promised you I would do those months ago, but I'm...
You did the WWC show.
Yeah, I'm still planning on reviewing them. Though I've got the whole, like, wedding thing soon, so...
Yeah, that's no problem. Don't worry about it. Hey, just so you know, I got a WWL show coming up. It's got Alberto.
Yeah, let's see here. Okay, here we go. I've got 2 San Francisco shows, a SmackDown, a British show, a Raw from 2004, 4 ECW shows, Beach Blast 1992, a Raw from 2010, SmackDown from 2002, King of the Ring 1994, SmackDown from 2006, Raw from 2005, and then you get Triple Mania 2013.
And he gets paid for this.
And keep in mind, I've been picking up my pace. I usually get 1 or 2 shows off that list a month. So maybe by like Christmas, you might get Triple Mania 2013, which I think you requested 2 years ago.
Just to keep that in mind. I'll throw in the context for the next show too, just to ease it up a little.
Thank you, because I'm not going to have any idea what's going on when I get to that.
Well, at least you review the shows. If I were to ask you if this were actual wrestling, real television program, do you think it would go by smoothly?
No. But the problem with that, I've thought about writing up. I've had big rants in my head about why it doesn't work, but it's not supposed to work. One of the problem is, and I know I've heard a lot of people that write for the EFED saying this, it's a lot easier to write as a heel. And the problem is that makes heel characters a lot more prevalent, and you would never have this many heels going over on a regular show. But it works that way more in an EFED. So it's really hard. It's a hard comparison to make. I mean, it's not quite comparing apples to mailboxes, because comparing apples to oranges would be stupid, because they're actually really similar. I've never gotten why people say that. But it would need a lot of work to make it go better. For one thing, your commentators would have to say more than about 5 lines per match. I've never really. I get what you're going for with the commentary, with the running commentators during the match, but I wouldn't miss them if they weren't there. I mean, I'm not saying you should get rid of them, because I get why they're there, but it's just kind of like, well, that was said, because it's just kind of like, I mean, obviously you can't have them saying something after every move, or these reviews, or these shows would go on for 30 pages each. But it's just always been kind of strange that, like, 10 minutes of a match will go by, or 3 hours if you're Kermit. And they're too easy. And then they'll say one line, and then you won't hear from them again for like 5 minutes. It's just kind of awkward. It's not something that's going to work in text. I get that. It's not the same kind of write. It's not the same kind of presentation. There's some stuff in there that I have liked. That I can't remember who wrote it. The War Games match is still the best thing I've ever seen from you guys.
Well,
he redeemed himself a little bit. That's still so far and away the best thing I've ever seen you guys do, and it's not even close. That I actually like. See, when I read these matches, I picture them in my head, and a lot of the time, and I had the same problem when I wrote OCW. You'll see that there's like there would be big gaps in between action, which again, it's text, and if you didn't have those, they would be a 5-minute match would be 4 pages long. I understand that you have to have those, but the wrestling is okay. The thing that if I could give you guys one major tip, and again I get that it doesn't work because of time, more build up to the big spots at the end. It seems like you guys will have about 2 minutes of preliminary stuff, and then it's just right into the signature moves. Which, I mean, I understand you can only do. I mean, like, I don't remember the last time I saw anyone ever use a rest hold. I don't know if I've seen it more than twice in all the shows I've read from you guys. It's just not something you guys do that often, and it's a very good way to like bridge part of the gap between going from the beginning of the match to the big stuff at the end, or like just working a body part, something simple like that. You know, I mean, Tastic, for instance, is basically a luchador, or at least a high flyer. It would make sense for someone to go after his leg. I'm not talking like you have to put on like a figure 4 or something, but it would make sense for someone to like kick at the leg, go after the leg, work it over a little bit to try to slow him down.
Well, with Tastic in particular, they tend to go for the back because in the storyline I have had back surgery.
Okay, that's good. I mean, it makes sense. I've never been a fan in general of, well, he was injured here like 6 years ago, so let's go after that. You see it a lot with neck surgery and stuff like that, but that's good. It just seems like you hardly ever see anything like that. And again, I'm not saying it's bad because as a result, but it's just kind of off-putting. You know, when you get so used to seeing something in every regular match you watch, it's just kind of strange to not see it. You know what I mean? And again, it's certainly far from bad. But it's you can tell when someone has really, really taken their time and structured a match well. Now, and I keep saying this over and over again, but I more than understand that you can't sit there and spend 6 hours writing a run-of-the-mill match. You know, I mean, you guys do this in your spare time. You know, yeah. I mean, I more than get that. I mean, I spent countless hours sitting in college classes writing up OCW pay-per-views, which probably explains why I was on probation for a year. But, oh yeah, I was... A quick side story about it. Remind me to give you guys a good story about that later. It involved me nearly having a heart attack and offering a friend of mine my kidney. It was... I don't know how well it would work in real life, though in real life you would have a lot more time to fill. Because the other problem with these shows is, these shows seem like they would run about 30 minutes.
Yeah, they definitely feel like 5-minute matches most of the time. We did talk about that last show.
And again, it's a complete... It's not fair. It's not fair to hold you guys to the same standard that you would see on Raw or SmackDown. It is fair for Impact, which is barely a wrestling show anymore. But I mean, I like it. It's well done. You can tell there's definitely an effort put into it, which is the most important thing you guys can do. I know how hard you guys work on this because I've done something similar myself. So you guys definitely work hard at it. It's worth checking out if you haven't before. I like it. I'm entertained by it, and I've seen everything. So, including a match in a bathhouse in Taiwan, or was it Thailand? I think it was Thailand. Yeah, which included a near drown, which you had to win by attempting to drown your opponent. Yes, that's real.
That sounds.
It's real.
That sounds entertaining.
It's real. Yeah. It's definitely good. What was the question again? Would this work if it was real? I ramble a lot. If you guys couldn't, it's why I type instead of do a show like this every week. I don't think it would work if it was real, but you wouldn't do it the same way if it was real.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Definitely. Thanks a lot for the criticism too.
Well, I think it helps. It's why I occasionally review a show, which I'll probably do another one relatively soon. It won't be unscripted. Just because I think it helps to have an outside perspective on it, because you guys all understand exactly what's going on with it because you do this every single day. I'm someone who follows it kind of, and I get the general idea, but there's a lot of the time where I'll read one of your shows and there is something that happens that I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, and that can be kind of off-putting if you're trying to get more people to read it. Now, it doesn't happen in every match, but just there's some stuff that'll pop up where it's just like okay, a good example of it was it was on Kingdom Come, I think last year. The most recent one, there was a battle royal, I think, at the beginning on the pre-show, and Armando Paradise, somebody like that.
Oh, okay, I remember. You're actually talking about the first of the two shows, and we had the Armando Paradise Cannonball joke.
See, I had no idea what you were talking about or who he was. I had heard his name before, because I think he was on the previous pre-show with the Manliest Man in the World contest. By the way, whoever wrote that, how did you not play William Regal's "He's a Man" song at the end of that?
Wrote that? I forgot.
I don't think I was uncreative at that period.
I think that was Hardhand. I could be wrong. But that was the biggest layup in the world, and it wasn't there. But, I mean, I knew he was there. I didn't know who he was, and I get that the joke will make sense for people who are there and have read the shows all those times, but otherwise it's just like, okay, there's a guy here named Armando. He's doing this. Okay. And they'd probably just sit there in silence because this means nothing to them.
Yeah, it just comes off as a pretty random thing.
Yeah, and again, the people who were reading it probably thought it was hilarious, and I get why you would do that. I mean, WWE does that kind of stuff all the time. Like a couple months ago when they had one of their old school shows, Gene Okerlund came out and talked about his hotline. Now, if you didn't watch WCW, this was the dumbest joke you'd ever heard. If you watched WCW, you were rolling around on the floor laughing because it was hilarious, and it was. But if you weren't watching almost 20 years ago, the joke went completely over your head. You know, and it's fine to have that in there sometimes. And it wasn't a bad thing to have in there. It's just, that's the kind of thing where sometimes it's like, what? What are you talking about?
Yeah, definitely. We've been pushing for bullet points before.
Those would help a ton. I remember before the triple threat at Kingdom Come a couple of years ago, you had that you had a PowerPoint or something like that. It was a YouTube video that had bullet points in it. That helped a lot, even though the injuries that you pushed in that didn't play into the match whatsoever. But then again, WWE will ignore injuries that happen during the match, so you're one up on them.
Woohoo!
And it's done.
Yeah, is anything you want to say before we move on?
No, I think he presents some fair criticisms. I've kind of been trying to take some notes as he's been talking. Killjoy mentioned it. We've been kind of pushing for bullet points, little recaps of what's been going on. It's just, you know, like you said, we do it in our free time, and
I more than get that. Just one thing to keep in mind: I have never missed an episode of Raw, and I've seen most of the episodes of SmackDown. It still helps me a lot when they'll recap stuff from the previous week. Because I mean, other stuff happens in your week, and you might not remember exactly what happened or exactly how we got here. And it just, I mean, just like a quick line about like, I don't know, like with Tastic, like what you said about how he had a back injury. I mean, just Slaughter pounds away.
It would help for the commentators.
Yeah, that's a good place to bring them in. Because I mean, I know it's no one talks like that, but it's their job to point out. It's a commentator's job to point out little details like that. I mean, the best example I can give you from real wrestling was Barely Legal, the first ECW pay-per-view. they build up Taz and Sabu, which was the co-main event that night, and probably the real main event, as the grudge match of the century. These two hate each other. They never say why. I didn't know why they hated each other until JMT told me on the forums one day. They never explain why. The theory being, this show was for all the ECW fans who already knew it, but the problem is, there's an old Stan Lee line where he said every comic book is someone's first. Every show could be someone's first. And if they don't know what's going on, or if they get confused, they're probably not going to keep reading, and they probably won't come back. So I'm not saying you have to map out every story that's ever happened every show. That would be stupid and redundant and get on people's nerves too. But a little recap, even like you said, bullet points would help. I mean, and you don't even need those for every match. If you're just having a squash or something, then you don't need to throw that in. Or you can just have the commentators do it. But for the world title match at a pay-per-view, like with Slaughter against Tastic coming up, it could be Matt has had the world title, has been dominating the world title scene, and has held the title for almost all of however long it's been, almost uninterrupted since Lethal Lottery 2014, I guess. Slaughter is a rookie who has been rising up the ranks and won the Gold Rush tournament to get here. Then one line about whatever they've done in the build-up to the match. It's 3 sentences. You've summed up everything you need to know.
Definitely. You see why we got this guy here, the listener? It's because he's smart. He knows his stuff about wrestling.
And about organization, but...
That's it. Well, now let's move on back to real life with WWE, because there's news this week that kind of made me laugh, because they're launching a new channel. This is a Let's Play channel called Up, Up, Down, Down, which is 4 words short of a lawsuit.
Yeah.
It's going to be hosted by Xavier Woods, trademark, according to this.
It's so random.
And here's what they say. By leveraging WWE's massive influence on YouTube, half of which are illegal videos out of the channel, and tapping into the content vertical that scores highly among our fans, we're poised to make an immediate impact with this new channel, said Lisa Fox, WWE Executive Vice President of Content. We're confident that Up, Up, Down, Down will entertain not only WWE fans, but gamers everywhere. WWE has a powerful presence on YouTube, having served more than 5 billion video views in the last 12 months, and boasting more than 6.4 million subscribers, making it the #1 sports channel for meaning sports on the platform, ahead of the NBA, MLB, NFL, NHL, ESPN, and NASCAR. Because WWE loves to brag about itself, doesn't it? We get a lineup of shows too, because on Mondays we've got Up, Up, Down, Down Plays, a Let's Play style show featuring Xavier Woods and other personalities playing through today's hottest titles. We got, oh my god, the title of this one. For the lulz, every Wednesday, Woods again and others explore the vast worlds of popular sandbox games like Grand Theft Auto 5, where just about anything can happen. Jump Scares, which airs Fridays, delving into the deep horror genre. Players push their intestinal fortitude to the limit by creeping through those industry's most blood-curdling...
Go on.
We got Superstar Save Point every Saturday. Guests are tasked with jumping into a random game, totally cold, and must be helped led by Woods gaining glory in this unpredictable co-op experiment. Finally, we got Gamers Gauntlet for Sundays. Woods and friends challenge each other for more than gaming rights, with losers suffering predetermined penalties.
Okay. Here's the thing. You have just summed up why this show, why this comes off as a bad idea. It's on 5 gigabytes.
Better question is, why isn't this on the network?
That's true too, but this comes off, well, to be fair, they're putting most of their old YouTube stuff on the network in big bunches. There's a show where they go through their prop vault, so they have all their old sets in there and a bunch of just old costume pieces and stuff. I could watch that.
I've seen that one.
But with this, the problem right here, I could see, instead of doing these things 5 days a week, they could easily do this 1 or 2 days a week and just have a rotating feature. 5 days a week is too much. It's too much for anything. You don't need to have something on almost every day of the week. Cut the thing down and don't air it this often. Also, how long are these things going to be?
I can assume it's going to be 10 minutes.
I would assume so. I can't picture them going much longer than that. But I don't... This is where WWE doesn't get it. People have other things to do besides watch all this stuff. I do like the idea. It's not the worst idea in the world, and it's way better than some of their other stupid stuff, like Unscripted, which only works because Renee Young is on there, and she can do whatever she wants and still just charm everybody to death.
Yeah, she is.
But this isn't the worst idea, and Xavier Woods has more than enough charisma to pull this off. Though the fact that he's now a heel, and these were probably taped 6 months ago, doesn't help anything.
Also, something else, you were talking about all these shows, 5 shows a week. He's literally in all of them.
Yeah, and that's gonna make. I mean, it works if you have someone who has a dominating enough personality to make that work. I don't know if Woods has that. He could. They do have it. See, I mean, like, for instance, they have the funny show. They have the where anything and everything can happen, which is supposed to be, I guess, a funny show. The jump scare show. You could easily just alternate those week to week. The Gamer Gauntlet sounds like it could be a segment on a regular show. Superstar Save Point could be another segment which you could alternate through the Gauntlet thing. You could easily make this one 20-minute show and air it once a week.
Yeah, or in segments, because, Raw is 3 hours, and half the time they don't know what to do with it.
It just seems like that, like they're, as usual, they try to pump out so much content, and I don't have a regular job, and I have trouble keeping up with all of it. I mean, my job is to watch wrestling, and I get overwhelmed by it.
And the idea of the New Day playing video games sounds interesting, but maybe after the 3rd day you're going to get
that's the thing, and it's 5 days a week. I mean, I know most people aren't going to watch the whole thing. Now, again, if they keep these shows short, like 8 to 10 minutes a day, that could work. Though on a game like, what was it, Witcher 3, I think they said on there. That game is massive. Conan O'Brien does a segment on his show where he plays video games, and it runs like 7 minutes, and I have no idea if that game is any good. It's 7 minutes. It's probably a 50-hour game. I mean, it's kind of a preview of it. Now, the WWE games, they're going to dominate everything on there, which it should. I mean, it's not the worst idea, but it's overkill, as is everything with this company.
I wonder if we could get Xavier to play a Let's Play on TNA Impact.
The man has suffered enough.
You gonna watch all this? Yes?
I'll give it a chance. I'm an avid gamer in real life, so it piques my interest. But like KB said, it's overkill. And the market for Let's Plays are so oversaturated as is that I have to wonder how long they're going to let this run, because 2 of the top 5 most subscribed YouTube channels are already video game related. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know how long they're going to let it run if it doesn't get a lot of views, but yeah, 5 times a week, that's insane. I mean, and especially with some of the games they're playing, like, how are they going to make Grand Theft Auto into a PG environment?
Right. I mean, I watch one Let's Play show, and their shows go for like 4 hours every time they're on, which it's why I'm so backed up on it. It just takes forever to get through.
Yeah, I think if they were trying to impersonate some sort of channel, they should have probably gone with Screw Attack. These guys don't really have much Let's Plays. It's more of a comedy thing and informational
stuff. The other thing is, the Let's Play show that I watch, that's their job, is they make their living doing just Let's Plays. Xavier Woods is a wrestler who is doing a Let's Play show. It's not his primary job, so it's going to be probably written a lot by writers who are trying to be funny and failing, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Certainly not going to be Renegades for life. That's a Team 4-star.
I've heard of Team 4-star.
Sweet. Well, anyway, speaking of WWE doing more unusual things, there is a report that there's going to be a Christmas special DVD. This one you'll probably like, KB. It's going to be hosted by Mick Foley.
And Noelle Foley, which makes it better.
Yeah,
she's a cutie.
She is. I don't know, his wife is very pretty, so thankfully she looks like her.
Yeah, she could have come out looking like Mick, and it would have been a freaking disaster.
Yeah. I am a Christmas fanatic, which is what Killjoy meant by that. This could be fun. I don't know how long they're going to be able to go with it. Maybe we could see Hornswoggle regaining the ability to talk, because he used to be able to talk, and then he couldn't.
That was such a funny skit.
I did chuckle at it. This goes back, though, to what Fritz von Erich said about running Christmas night shows at Texas Stadium in Dallas. In the morning, once you open all the presents, what else is there to do all day?
Yeah, Puerto Rico, we have the tradition for the Epiphany Day, which is on the 6th of January. We always host a big wrestling show.
Well, like with him, he would hold a show in Texas Stadium, hold 70,000 people. He would draw 40,000 people to that show every year. Because there was nothing else to do all day. Let's go watch wrestling. And it worked.
Yeah, although you have to wonder how much content they're going to put, because apparently it's just going to be...
Well, there's only so much you can put on there, because most people aren't crazy enough to hold a show on Christmas night, or Christmas Eve, or anything else like that. There'll be some fun stuff on there. They usually do the holiday shows pretty well.
Like Alberto Real Running.
That was awesome! That was awesome. I mean, a couple of years ago, you had a Latin-quoting evil Santa fighting against a 400-pound wig splitter to save Christmas. There is no way this is not going to be amazing.
Of course, there's John Cena screaming out, "For Santa!" in the middle of that
It's
show.
one of those things where, how do you not chuckle at this?
I also remember Randy's street fight with David Otunga, the Miracle on 34th Street.
Which... it's a cheap name. I mean, ECW had a pay-per-view called Massacre on 34th Street. It's an easy name to do. It'll be fun. I'm sure this will be on the network in like a year, and it'll be fun. It's one of those things where they won't take themselves too seriously, and Mick Foley loves Christmas and wrestling so much that it'll work. This will be fun.
Yeah, it definitely will. It's a pretty unusual one, but it is going to be pretty much a lot of fun. Now let's get to something serious though. Sheamus is Mr. Money in the Bank, and I've got a bit here that pretty much points to this company is still obsessed with the idea of Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan, because that was the original plan for last year.
I still don't buy that.
Well,
I know that everyone says it, including Meltzer, but I cannot accept that they're that stupid. I can't wrap my head around them possibly being that dumb.
I don't know about you, but I've definitely said it. They are quite
They are, but I don't think they're that bad. I accept that the Royal Rumble changed their perspective on stuff, because, I mean, dang. I've never seen a crowd turn on someone that fast. I mean, they booed Rey Mysterio out of the building. And Mysterio is one of the most popular stars ever, and they hated seeing him. And it wasn't that it was Rey, it's that it wasn't Bryan. But, I mean, they nailed the payoff, which, as a side note, can we please stop saying that WWE never gives us what we want? They gave us every single thing they could possibly ask for in that main event last year.
Oh yeah, it was definitely one of the best shows I've seen.
It was. I mean, I was lucky enough to be in the audience that night, and my mind was blown the whole time. I still have a piece of the confetti.
Man, I haven't even been able to go Lucha Underground.
Yeah, but it's... well, I think you have to have an invitation to get into that.
Oh, I tried.
I'm sure.
They were gone by the hour.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's not a big place, so... Alright.
Yeah, but here's the original piece Dave Meltzer mentions. He says that originally Sheamus was to turn heel and face Bryan at WrestleMania 30. But when Punk left and the crowds were literally killing Batista, they had to change their mind. Sheamus was then planned to win Money in the Bank last year, but Bryan got hurt and they had to vacate the title again, changing plans. The champion was chosen based on who would be the best person to drop the title to Lesnar, so they went with Cena. Then Rollins was given the nod, given how things were going with him. And how things turned out is that at first they were going only to do Money in the Bank ladder match. It was only supposed to be for the title, sorry about that. When the decision was made to do the second one, the title shot at stake, Sheamus was already penciled in, and they did not want to change on that. So they gave it to him this year.
Okay, here's the thing. People have been complaining about it being Sheamus. Let's go really quickly through the names on the list. Roman Reigns. He was easily the odds-on favorite, but let's imagine for a second that Roman Reigns wins. I'll put the over-under of threads complaining about WWE being predictable at 4,000 if Reigns won that match. Anybody want to take the under and then have me explain to them why they're wrong?
It was pretty obvious.
Yeah, so people complain all the time about WWE going with the obvious. Well, they didn't here. And now they've set up something for Reigns and Wyatt as a result, instead of just going with the same briefcase idea that they could have gone with. So,
although this feud with Wyatt, they've actually been talking about it since WrestleMania.
Well, they set it up a couple weeks ago, which people forgot. Wyatt was having a match with Ambrose on SmackDown, so they probably didn't just forget. They probably had never heard of it. And Reigns Superman punched in to set this up. So there is an actual reason for Wyatt to be going after it, instead of just the regular random targeting. But anyway, back to the list. Neville and Kofi Kingston were not winning Mr. Money. Were not becoming Mr. Money in the Bank. They just weren't. You can write them off immediately.
Sorry, Yaz.
Yeah, I'm crying.
Yeah. You do that. Ziggler, no. Kane, heaven help them if they had gone with Kane, but he was really just there for the sake of the authority. That leaves Sheamus and Randy Orton. Orton and Rollins has been done to death. So you either have... Your real only two options there are... Your three options are really Sheamus, Reigns, and Orton. Orton and Rollins has been done to death already. Reigns and Rollins has also been done to death. And you would hear about how predictable it was. That really just leaves Sheamus. I know he might not be the most popular pick in the world, but there really weren't a lot of other options. Not viable options, at least.
Just say he got the nod because of his role in the Ninja Turtles movie.
Well, that goes without saying. I mean, that's going to be amazing.
I don't know. To me, he just doesn't fit the whole mold they had for the main event. Because when you look at these guys, you see the Shield. They've literally taken over the company. Their feud, particularly the one with Ambrose and Rollins, it's become a draw, I would say. And you've also got that Ambrose-Reigns friendship. They've taken over the show. They've taken over the generation of wrestling at this point.
Well, here's the thing, though. I understand the idea of Sheamus cashing in and taking it away from Rollins, but I don't picture this. The old Sheamus, the violent one, who went to war against Big Show, fighting Lesnar. Just picture that for about a 7 or 8 minute match. Are you telling me that wouldn't be amazing? Just to see them hit each other in the mouth for 10 minutes? It would be fun if nothing else.
Certainly would, but at the same time, it would. What else would he do?
Well, I hate the idea of Money in the Bank anyway, especially 2.5 months after we got done with the last one, because it's just like, well, will he or won't he? Well, will he or won't he? I don't care. You've teased this for years now, or for the better part of a year now. But Sheamus, I'm a big Sheamus fan. I always have been, because you know what you're getting with him. Plays the role very well. Also, I like him much better as the Authority muscle, the associated act with the Authority, better than Big Show or Kane.
Oh my God, it would probably be his best role.
Picture, instead of Big Show and Kane, picture Sheamus and Barrett in those roles. You think that might have been a little bit better?
Well, not with Barrett's
yeah, but you might actually get an entertaining match once in a while. But this, I don't mind Sheamus getting it. I just hope they do the cash-in soon, because I really don't want that briefcase running around until January or later again.
Well, we'll see how it goes. 'Cause not everyone likes it, but it's different and it's actually interesting. It has potential, like KB said. What are your thoughts on Rollins and Ambrose? This feud's been going on for a long time. It's actually been very good despite how much they've been running with it.
I think they need to close it down for a while. The ladder match was very good, but I don't need to see it again. They're running the risk of... These two could conceivably be feuding for the next 15 years. They're both in their late 20s. It wouldn't be out of the question to see them for another 10 to 15 years. And I don't want them to burn through this like they did with Cena and Edge, who fought something like 30 times on TV alone. I don't need to see it over and over and over and over again. There are more people in there. You could bring up some fresh faces into the main event scene. Not even fresh, not even new faces, just something that we haven't seen in a while. So I don't need to see them anymore for a while. I don't mind seeing them again, but I don't need to see it now.
Well, they have... I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Ambrose has yet to actually get a win on pay-per-view over Rollins.
Right. Which is fine. They've built that up as a potential, as a big moment down the line, and Ambrose will get the title someday. I don't think that's a real secret.
He's basically the CM Punk that WWE wanted.
Close enough.
Definitely. Yeah, so I gotta ask you this one. What do you think of the Ambrose Reigns bromance?
It's no Liv Moss.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I really enjoy the Ambrose Reigns bromance. Even if we don't compare it to what Killjoy and I do with our EFED characters, it's just fun to see two faces who aren't necessarily a full-time tag team, who have each other's backs. And I hope they continue it for a little while. It'll make for a good feud once one of them does turn on the other. It's wrestling, it's going to happen. But I'm enjoying them both, being, pretty much the A1 and A2 faces for right now.
I like it too. It's much more natural because they were brothers in the Shield and they never really had a reason to stop being friends. So it's a good idea to keep them around together for a while.
There was that time where they were at each other's throats around January last year.
Yeah, but brothers fight.
Yeah, so I remember when they were in Cincinnati, the Raw in Cincinnati, in Ambrose's hometown, and Ambrose hit Dirty Deeds on Reigns, and it angered some people. Like, they thought, oh, well, here's the big turn, it's finally going to happen, but, like KB said, brothers fight. I fought with my brother all the time growing up. You can beat the crap out of each other and go back to being fine the next day, and that's pretty much what happened.
Oh, yeah.
And that's stuff, at least we get some continuity on that, because we also have these huge plot holes sometimes that just pop up on Monday Night Raw so oftenly. Like Cole's case against Brock Lesnar. Where did that...
WWE.com. They addressed it on there.
Yeah, they did address it on WWE.com. Like, Cole settled the lawsuit. But, to me, it goes back to... When I watch wrestling, I want to watch wrestling. I don't want to go and, have to go through this social media site or this website for the storylines to continue. Amen. I'm not KB. I don't hate social media, but I don't like the fact that WWE loves to, force social media down our throats the way they do.
I wouldn't...
Or work.
They could have... It's one of those things they could sum up in 10 seconds on Raw, and they just put it on the website instead, which not everybody goes to the website, because not everyone has that kind of time on their hands.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's much like TNA, because that's how I learned about Robbie versus Jesse Goddard. It popped up on my Facebook. It's not how it's supposed to work. It's supposed to be on the TV. But I guess we could skip ahead now, because we've covered a lot here. So I asked you guys to pick up one particular wrestling story that's touched you in a way, whether it be a character, a feud, something you saw that you liked. And I guess I'll leave it to KB first, since he tends to...
Yes, he does. Well, for me, it would be Mick Foley. You got an overweight guy who keeps fighting and fighting, even though he's not supposed to be where he is. And he's in over his head a lot of the time, but just through sheer determination and heart, he got to the top, which is why I mostly identified with Storm Rage at first, except for Foley actually won something. Hey, win something and I'll stop making the jokes, okay?
He did win the Eurasian title, but then I took it.
Yeah, to quote whoever keeps saying it, woo! Win a world title already.
It took Mattastic 5 years. I'm 3 years in. I've got 2 years left.
No, you don't, because people will get sick of you.
Aww. People get sick of me already.
Yeah.
Anyway, keep going with Mick Foley.
The fact that you have such a unique character where it's not that he's 3 or 4 characters, it's that he's one character with multiple personalities, which completely turns around the idea of a regular character. And he's very unique, he's very entertaining, and he just clearly puts everything he has into it every single time. And that's amazing to see. You don't see that from very many people, and you can see that this is his passion. And you can, just from the stories that you'll hear of him driving up and down the roads to go to shows and to go to school and to do everything that he did just because it's what he loved. And to be in the crowd when Snuka dove off the cage onto Morocco, in which apparently 874 wrestlers were in the crowd that night. It's such a cool story, and it's cool to see someone who has that kind of passion and came out on top of it all. Well, who became a very big star and was very successful. It's very inspiring to see that, where he's not your typical athlete. He's not really a handsome guy. He's basically a freak, but people connected to him. I mean, there's a line that I heard where you can find, back in the 90s, you could find dozens, if not hundreds, of wrestlers who would quote, wrestlers, unquote, who would put themselves through tables and dive onto barbed wire and stuff. One of them was named Mick Foley, and he main evented WrestleMania. And there's clearly a lot more to him than just the stuntman aspects that he's credited with. There's a love and a passion for wrestling, and that's something that you can't fake.
Definitely. Mick Foley's definitely a trendsetter in the wrestling world. Yaz, anything you wanted to?
I'm gonna give you a brief story on why I originally fell in love with wrestling. I was 5 years old, and I went to I want to say it was Smoky Mountain Wrestling, but I could be wrong. But the only thing I remember about the show, I was 5 years old, the only thing I remember was the show was headlined by Jerry Lawler and superstar Bill Dundee. And my dad, my grandpa, and I, we had front row tickets, and I'd bought a soda. And being 5 at the time, I couldn't drink all of a large soda, so it was only about half full. And during their match, it spilled to the outside, and Lawler picked up my soda and dumped it over Bill Dundee's head. And at that moment, I was like, this is awesome. This is like what I'm going to spend my life watching. So, a bit of nostalgia there. It's why I always have a soft spot in my heart for Lawler, no matter how bad he gets on commentary. He's really one of the reasons I fell in love with wrestling.
By the way, do you know what Latinos use to cut a pizza?
What?
A pair of Little Caesars.
You're fired.
That was a Jerry Lawler line.
He's fired too. So appropriately enough, my mom got me into wrestling, and she got into it by watching Lawler too. So
I remember, Lawler was the guy, everyone in my family knew, when Angle would take down his straps, my parents would always be like, oh, that was Jerry Lawler's thing. He would take the strap.
Oh, yeah. There's a video of, it was a Jerry Lawler music video from, 1984 or so, because it's Wimp Busters, obviously set to Ghostbusters, with Lawler singing. And it's pretty much just a highlight reel of him beating up various heels in the Mid-South Coliseum, which was like the mecca of Memphis wrestling. And there are scenes where he punches this female valet in the face, and the fans lose their minds cheering for him. Lawler could do absolutely no wrong down there, and it's that, to steal a phrase from CM Punk's song, it's the cult of personality, where Lawler was that company. Lawler could do whatever he wanted down there and would get cheered for it. And he was the only driving force for that whole thing, and they toured all around Kentucky, Tennessee, Southern Indiana, and he was larger than life. He was the king. You know, and if you look back at a list of the people he's fought, I've seen him fight Flair, Hogan, Savage. He and Savage had one of the best feuds you'll ever find. Just all kinds of people that he's fought over the years, and he's been around forever, because he was in that transitional period where he had matches with Fez and Gagne and people like that, but he also had feuds with Hogan and Savage and Law and Hart and people, and he's fought Shawn before. You know, and also he's still been in the ring with people like Dolph Ziggler and Randy Orton. You know, there's not many people who have been around in that wide a scope, that long of a range. It's amazing with stuff like that.
Definitely, and at least from my point of view, my Jerry Lawler would definitely be Carlos Colon, because this guy was at it for nearly 40 years, and from my point of view, you know, I didn't start to watch WWE regularly until maybe 2004, 2003. So when I would see wrestlers like maybe Shane the Glamour Boy, to me he was the original and Shawn Michaels was the knockoff. To me, Ricky Banderas was the original and The Undertaker was the knockoff. So when I started to watch this WWE, it was definitely new stuff for me. It was definitely new grounds. To me, I was used to the fans. You know, still kayfabe is still a thing over there. If a heel is good enough, fans are gonna throw stuff at him. There's stories, particularly Damien Sandow told one, of fans who would burn up pennies with a lighter and throw them at him, and he would have the marks in his back. Which is probably why WWE doesn't go to Puerto Rico for television. But it was just, it's still to this day, even though the crowds are literally like 50 people, there's still that little magic air that it's real to them. They still get engaged even though kayfabe is long dead. And it's pretty awesome to me. Right now we have a wrestler, he's called El Chicano, who is Miguel Cotto's cousin. This guy boxes and then he goes to wrestle. And on one night he won a boxing match. He was flown by helicopter to a WWEC show where he beat Carlito for the Universal title. And that was a really cool moment. And we're starting, it's just a different perspective for me. And a lot of people complain about, oh, the repetition of matches, which, yeah, to me, it does get to me, but at the same time, I've seen Abdullah the Butcher versus Carlos Colon so many times. I've seen The Invader versus Carlito so many times. And, well, KBU reviewed a show not that long ago. It had Reagan Salas versus Carlito, which was literally Carlito's first feud ever in pro wrestling. So it definitely just gives me a different perspective on things, and it's pretty cool, and it's always hooked me on wrestling.
And that kind of stuff is awesome. I mean, it may be like, I mean, I've watched some WWC stuff, and it's one of the most boring looking shows I've ever seen.
It's camcorders.
But the thing is, like you said, that is what you grew up watching. I mean, the era that I grew up watching, well, I mean, the era that I grew up watching more than anything else was, because when I started watching, Raw Raw hadn't been invented yet. So the stuff that I would watch would be like Superstars, which was nothing but squashes, or like the old Royal Rumbles from the first days of their existence, and just whatever I could find at Blockbuster. So I can probably give you the whole commentary of SummerSlam 90 off the top of my head, because I've seen it so many times. It was one of the few tapes that I had. But, and yeah, it's not the best era, but that's what I grew up on. To me, that's the era I'm most familiar with, and probably my favorite, because it's when I started loving this stuff. You know, I mean, and it's the reason that I'm here 27 years later still watching it.
And making a living of it, too. Yeah, well, wrestling is awesome. A lot of people will say, that it's dying. No, it's not. You just gotta find the right place. It's not always in the WWE.
Right. And I mean, you look at Lucha Underground, or I mean, NXT right now is amazing, and just with the network around and the thousands of hours on there for $10. I mean, I've got a column that I've written in advance, just talking about how amazing the network is. Because I mean, when I was a kid, pay-per-views were $30 a month. Now they're $45 a month for standard definition, $55 for HD. My dad would let me buy 6 pay-per-views a year from all the companies combined. That's $180. Now I could get every pay-per-view ever for 2/3 of that cost. That is insane. Just let that sink in for a minute. You get every pay-per-view ever for the cost of for a whole year. You could watch that, including the new ones as they air, for the same cost of about 3.5 shows back then. That's remarkable. It's such an amazing era with all this digital content that we live in. And I mean, can you imagine having this when you were like 7, 8?
Definitely not. All I watched was the same company.
I'd never leave my house. I mean, I didn't anyway, but I'd have something else to do.
Yeah. Anything you want to add, Yaz, before we move on?
Nothing original. I mean, KB pretty much nailed it.
Sweet. Alright, so now we're going to step out of the wrestling, because we've done a lot of that, and we're going to start talking about different subjects, like movies, TVs, what we've been up to, or what we've liked. Yaz, I'm going to let you start on that one.
Well, see, I've been watching a lot of Orange is the New Black lately, catching up on season 3 on Netflix.
I've been thinking about watching it. Is that show good?
It's pretty good. Season 1 and 2 are definitely a lot better than what season 3 is, mostly because season 3 does not have doesn't really have an antagonist. But it's still worth watching. I mean, I didn't get into it. Go ahead.
It's on my list of shows to watch, but I've got about 70 shows on my list of shows to watch.
Yeah, my Netflix list, like stuff I want to watch, is probably 50, 60 shows deep right now.
Well, see, the problem for me is I have to have my wrestling shows on my computer, and the only time I can watch a regular show is if it's on TV or if I have downtime.
Yeah.
And which I rarely have. So, I mean, I'm still trying to get through Daredevil.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. Daredevil myself.
It's a great show. From what I've seen, the first, I think, 4 or 5 episodes. I love it so far, but I don't have time.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add, Yaz?
Gaming-wise, I've been playing a lot of Elder Scrolls Online. That and Payday 2, robbing banks with my friends. So, anybody out there who's listening wants to add me on Xbox Live, it's same name as my forum username, Rainbow Yaz. And I'm down to game pretty much anytime.
Yeah,
Xavier Woods is going to look up for you.
Yeah, Xavier Woods, registered trademark, looking me up.
Yeah, I retired from gaming with the PlayStation 2. So, I mean, the last game I really got into was Kingdom Hearts. So,
oh, the third one's coming out.
It's tempting me to actually. I'll find somebody who's playing it and just watch them do a Let's Play, because I'm probably not going to drop $300 or whatever it is on a PlayStation. But I mean, I remember a buddy of mine. It was I was sick, and it was spring break week when I was a freshman in high school when the first one came out. And a buddy of mine who's 3 years older than I am, and actually the guy who introduced me to WrestleZone actually, said, "You have to play this game. It sounds really, really stupid, but you will love it." Okay, whatever. So I could barely keep my eyes open from being sick, and I started playing it at about 3 in the afternoon. I fell asleep playing it at 5 a.m. without taking a break. It was that addictive.
Disney and Final Fantasy, it's always been a weird
combo.
And
then Kingdom Hearts 2 kind of sucked. But
I wonder if they'll add the Avengers now.
Oh man, and they also own
Star Wars. Oh my god.
Yeah, I love the line when Lucas was when George Lucas sold Star Wars to them, Said Lucas could not be reached for comment. He was last seen diving headfirst into a pile of money. I mean, just think of all this. Disney owns so much stuff right now, it's unreal. And the good thing is, the stuff they put out is really good.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the new Pixar movie they've got.
Inside Out. I've heard great things about it. I'm hoping to try to see it before I have to get on a plane a couple weeks from now. So.
Alright, I think I'll take my turn now, because the game I've actually been looking forward to it isn't even an actual game, it's more of a bootleg, and it's this game, it's basically a remake of Pokemon. It's based on the manga, which is a hell of a lot more entertaining than the anime series. It's so story heavy compared to all the usual Pokemon games with the usual Team Rockets and all that. It's very intriguing, and it's got a whole lot of pretty cool features. I've already played a beta of it, and it's pretty unique. It's also got this crazy little mixture of the legendary bird Pokemon into one Pokemon. It's the final boss. It's crazy. It's very fun. Probably the most fun Pokemon game I've ever played, and it's not even an actual one.
Yeah, because I played Red, Blue, and Yellow when I was younger, and then it just got so insane with everything they were throwing out there with it, and then I just gave up on it. But going back to where it's just like, I mean, how many Pokemon are there now? Probably 1,000. That's a
750 around there.
Just, they were stretching with the 150 originals. I don't even want to imagine what it's like now with that many of them.
They're still very fun. The last games were amazing, particularly the visuals and the music.
I can imagine that. It was a fun game. Going back to the basics of it would be a lot more fun, I think. But like you said, you can only do so much story in a game like they had on the original Game Boy.
Yeah, that's why I prefer this one, because it's so story heavy and there's so much good flow to it. It's not the usual free roaming, oh, go find the badges and catch Pokemon and all that. There's actual
You can only carry that so far. And I can't imagine... I mean, I know obviously they would have changed a lot of stuff, but I can't imagine how much they really could have changed what... Based on that core formula, I don't know how many different ways you can go with it.
Oh yeah, when you play this game, you're gonna see there's so much potential to the Pokemon games if you just branch out from the usual formula. Yeah, is anything you want to add before we move?
No, I'm kind of curious as to what else KP has in store.
Alright, well, let me get through this one real quick. The new Avengers movie, Age of Ultron, very much like Justice League, the animated series. Very awesome, so I don't see why people hated that.
I liked it. Well, see, I was lucky. When I saw it, the theater in town, one of the far too many of them, none of them are anywhere near my house, I have to drive 15 minutes to get to a theater, was airing Avengers 1 and 2 back-to-back in 3D for $13 total.
It's like 6 hours.
Huh? Oh yeah, I was there all day, but I got to see both Avengers movies back-to-back for $13. So, and one of the problems was, Avengers 2 is good, but Avengers 1 is better, and watching it right before Avengers 2 kind of makes Avengers 2 pale in comparison a little bit.
I don't know, I kind of liked Avengers 2 more because it does focus
It's definitely great. I mean, it's a very entertaining movie.
Yeah, okay, so next I've been binging on the Ninja Turtles, the 2012 incarnation. It's a lot of fun. It definitely is. I got a soft spot for Fly Buzz. Such a Michelangelo is so much fun, and all the characters feel fun. It's not like, say, the 2003 version where Leonardo literally takes over the whole show.
I liked that series though. It was so.
It was so.
I like all three of them. It's so completely different from what you were getting.
Yeah, all three incarnations are so radically different. They're
Well, see,
all
the thing is, did you watch the '87 version that much?
Sadly,
okay,
not
then
my
you
time.
won't get why the 2012 version is so confusing.
Yeah, I'm already aware there's a lot of changes, like the whole.
Oh no! I'm talking about the voices.
Oh yeah, because Rob Paulson, he voices Donatello here, and he used to voice Raphael.
So you'll hear Raphael, you'll hear the voice in my head, because I watched the Turtles religiously back in the day. You hear Raphael, the voice that I associate with Raphael, saying things that are smart. And it's like, no, Raph, you're not the smart one. Why are you talking? Oh yeah, it's this series.
Still, I think it's pretty cool that they got Rob Paulson to come back to the show. He's awesome.
That's one of the things that gets on my nerves about so many modern movies, where there are so many talented voice actors out there, but they'll just get big-name celebrities so they can have big-name celebrities.
Yeah. It's a pity, because he's awesome. There's so many out there that are so awesome. I don't know if you guys listen to it. He has a podcast called Puck and Tunes.
I've heard of that.
It's so much fun to listen to.
Yeah, it amazes me how people can just change voices that quickly into a different character. And have them be like a fully fleshed out character. Like they know it's not what does this script say, it's what would this person say, or this character say.
Definitely. Well, KB, I'm going to leave the floor to you because you had a special request.
Yes, well, I am going to cede my time to someone else, to a guest. Yes, the guest has a guest.
Oh, interesting.
Okay. Hang on a second. Hi, everybody. My name is Lucy the Bunny, and I am I am talking for me and my brother Ryan T. Bell and my sister Susie the Bell. My papa wanted us to say something, but I got to do it fast because my mama is asleep, and we would be in trouble for being on the computer after Bugs went off here, because that is when we have to go to bed. Since I am the oldest and the smartest, and know how to read like a big rabbit, I get to do it. Papa said that we are more main event than Showtime, hotter than Berna, and cooler than Everett. Papa, that doesn't make sense. How can we be hot and cold at the same time? Anyway, there is one more thing we supposed to say. We will see you at All Dash Stars. All Dash Stars? Oh, I'm sorry. We will see you at All Stars. Bye.
Holy crap, the gauntlet was thrown down here. All Stars?
Well, All Dash Stars if you listen to a 47-year-old rabbit reading it, but yeah.
Oh my god, WCCW All-Stars. Lucy the Rabbit is coming by. Oh my
Lucy
god.
the Rabbit with her brother Ryan and sister Susie.
Oh my god, in the Metallica Dome. Is that Lucy the Rabbit and who else? Who's that?
Susie the Bear and Ryan T. Bear.
Oh my god. Yaz, what do you think of this? This is amazing.
This is probably the most historic moment we'll ever have on our podcast. And I don't mean that in any sarcastic way whatsoever.
This is the greatest moment in all of podcast history.
It's going to be huge news. Like, KB KB PM'd me earlier today, and he asked if he could RP as a trio, and I said, we've had guys RP as a tag team before. So
we've had guys RP as a train before. If you had said no to a trio, I'd have had problems with this.
In fairness, that train won a match.
Yes, well, now there will be a bunny and two bears RP.
The train was not the worst one. It was the coffee cup.
The coffee cup was in a match.
In one.
Well, let's see. Lucy is the oldest. She enjoys carrots quite a bit. She loves Bugs Bunny, and she is a regional hopping champion. Susie is a drug dealer, which she refers to it as chemistry. Ryan loves the Leeds Rhinos rugby team, has a hoodie collection ranging close to 1,000 now. He wants to kill all the giraffes in the world and is scared of sharks and clowns.
Why would you kill giraffes?
Because they're bad.
Does this have to do with...
No.
The comedian? I forgot his name.
No, this is all from the inner workings of my mind. So don't try to figure this out.
I'm gonna go unsubscribe to the WWE Network and all the other wrestling networks in a minute. Anyway, KB, we gotta ask you about another particular joke you have.
If this is about
Boulders.
Yeah, what about them?
Why are you obsessed with them?
Because they're on a roll.
But
I've been using that joke for 6 years now. It still works.
I got one at home if you want me to give it to you.
Why would I want you to give me a boulder? That would be stupid.
You don't want a boulder for decorations? You don't want one in your wedding setting or something like that?
No! Why would I want a boulder?
I don't know. I use it to throw
No.
things out.
No. The answer is because they're on a roll. That's always the answer.
Okay, fine. By the way, you should probably know Mick Foley voices a character called
I know.
Boulder. That's
On what
awesome
was it?
and unusual.
Yeah.
Avatar. All right, let's get back to something serious. KB, you make your
Did you
living
just
off
say that
these-
me debuting at All Stars isn't serious?
No, Boulders weren't.
You want to take that one back now?
No, the boulders. Don't kill me, stay back.
Were you talking to me or the boulders?
Both. Or neither. Anyway, ebooks, go ahead and plug them, because I know you got a new one
Yeah, it's
out.
coming out in July, probably the day before my wedding. It's already written up. It is the first year of NXT, not the stupid reality show, or competition show, or whatever you want to call it, but starting from the day they debuted in Full Sail, down through the day, down right before they debuted on the network. So you see the debut of Neville, Sami Zayn, The Shield, Big E, when he was still completely awesome before they had turned him heel on Raw, because you take the biggest face in NXT and turn him heel. Bo Dallas and the Bo Levers, just all kinds of people on there. You get to see Bayley debut when she was still nothing. Rusev, Lana, all these people who are now the stars of WWE, they debuted in the first year of NXT. And it's just very, very cool to go back and see the stuff that you forget how good it really was back then, and how fast NXT went to becoming the cool show that it is today, with very minor changes to the structure.
Definitely, and you can find all of KB's books down at kbswrestlingreviews.com. That's where he has all his reviews. He reviews every single
No, that's
show
nowhere near. That's
pops
nowhere
up.
near all of it I have, but it's a lot of them.
Just think about it. Every WCW, every ECW, every TNA, and every WWE pay-per-view. He's got a few ROH ones, a few AAA ones, and other companies too. And he reviews every television show that comes his way.
I reviewed, I think at last count, it was over 2,500 full shows.
Good.
See, I haven't even watched like half of that. So what you do is just amazing.
This is my life. This is what I want to do. I used to work at Amazon, and I would sit there and count the only way I could get through the day was counting down the seconds of the day and figuring out what percentage of the day I was done with, so I could get home and watch and write more.
Yeah, good grief. And you've got this big collection coming up of books, too. You got the complete 1998 Monday Night Raw history, the 2001 Monday Night history, the history of In Your House, the history of Starrcade, the Royal Rumble, Saturday night's main event, the history of the WWE Championship. Now, there's a long one.
Oh, the sequel is going to be longer.
Oh my god. The history of Nitro from 1995 to 96, SummerSlam, Clash of Champions, Survivor Series, every ECW pay-per-view, and Nitro 1997, and finally, oh no, that's not the last one. Only on pay-per-view 1998, which has WCW and WWE pay-per-views, and now finally, complete history of Monday Nitro and Thunder, Part 1 of 1998.
I do this a lot.
Definitely, and you've got this one now coming out with NXT.
That'll be out. I'm shooting for July 10th.
By the way, very nice book covers.
Yeah, they are. Especially the ones from, I think IDR did one for me. Masios did a bunch for me. Those are all really good.
Oh man, you can't believe you just did that.
Why can't you? You should know me better than this by now.
His very existence to mess with you.
You
And it's
definitely-
too. I wouldn't do it if A, I didn't like you guys, and B, it wasn't so easy.
I've got my delete button on a file here. Wonder what file it is. NXT cover.
Okay, I'll talk to IDR about it instead.
Okay, fine. I'll send it tomorrow when I'm done.
Yeah, Killjoy does most of my book covers, and he won't let me pay him. I'd like to emphasize that I offer every time. He won't let me.
I just make him review a bad Lucha Libre show instead.
You've done that a few times.
Another one coming up, too.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Yeah, I gotta do it for a friend since I kind of talk to the owner of the company every once in a while. We've been talking about a wedding. You want to talk about it, KV?
Yeah, I'm getting married to someone I met on a wrestling forum. Because seriously, why wouldn't I? Yeah, people say I've spent too much time on a forum over the years. I found my job and my future wife on there. That's not bad.
Yeah, so you think we could shoot for that?
I don't know. I mean, man, if Puerto Rico was more progressive, we could just get hitched to each other.
Sheesh, I can't even get internet in my house, and you want to legalize gay marriage?
Hey, small steps.
Well, I mean, okay, here's the thing, though. Now, I've made money off the... I've made enough money to afford to go to England and get married off the forums. Sly, my partner, pays for the hosting for the avatars. Sly puts money into it. Now, I'm not sure if that makes him more or less... or more dedicated to it or crazier than I am. But it's close.
Well, he is Ultron.
He is. And I will outlast him. I don't know what it's going to take, but I will outlast him.
If you don't get the joke, his avatar is James Spader, who voiced Ultron. For the listeners. Oh, but I don't know. Any last stories before we head up? Did you guys want to share?
Not that I can share on the air.
Oh boy. Yaz.
Yeah, there might be a story about Yaz and some ponies or something.
No, I don't have any crazy pony stories.
No. I mean that I know that I'm not going to tell on the air.
You can tell anything on the air. I don't care.
Well, I can't because the story doesn't exist. I was trying to sound good without saying what it was, but as usual, you ruined the joke.
Nope, I didn't ruin anything.
Except for my life.
Well, you know what? I'm glad I can contribute.
Your life, man. You're making your living reviewing wrestling, and you're getting married because of it. You're ruined because of Yaz.
You don't get how big of a failure he is, do you?
Just
every single time I get behind him, I get crushed and smell of tacos for a week.
Which one would you call Roman Reigns, and which one would you call the Dean Ambrose?
I'm thinking Yaz is actually more like Dean Douglas.
Was a jobber.
I'm thinking Yaz is more like Dean Douglas.
He was Intercontinental Champion for a little bit, at least.
Yes, 10 minutes.
And then Sean whacked him with a shovel and buried him.
No, actually, it was Razor Ramon that beat him.
It was...
Get your facts right. He beat Sean for the title, technically, via Sean being attacked by anywhere between 2 and 13 Marines, depending on how boastful Sean is feeling that day.
Well, I'm just some hick from an island. I didn't even have internet until 2009, so... My bad.
I've written about it. You should have known that already. I'm sure you buy every single one of my books. Say you do.
I actually haven't bought a single one because I'm a hick.
Say you do, you schnook. It sounds better. I'll let you try that one again. I'm sure you've bought all my books.
I do, but I can't understand them. I can't read.
That explains so much.
No hablo en español.
¿Por qué no?
Exacto. Yo no entiendo 4 diablos de inglés.
Estoy más inteligente de todos de ti.
That sounded so butchered.
Yeah.
No,
dude, I haven't taken a Spanish class since college. Give me a break.
Anyway, I think the 2 hours is long enough, so we're going to sign out. We'll see you next time when we actually have a plan.
And I won't be here, thank God.
Oh,
that means I get to talk more.
I'm kidding, this was fine.
Yes? Anything you want to say?
Yeah, Just remember, when KB gets married, his fiance's favorite wrestler is my favorite wrestler too. So.
Kofi Kingston?
No, Shawn Michaels.
She has a shrine to him.
Yeah, every time I mention Michaels, Becca gives me rep. It doesn't matter which section of the forum we're in. It's like
I know.
something positive about Shawn. She's like,
I know. I know. She does it to everybody except for me.
I still remember KB giving me this particular instruction of putting Shawn Michaels in the banner for his
Oh, yeah,
page.
because she would have killed me if not. She would have sent it back to you and said, no, this is how you're going to do it. But the thing is, she would have told you to put nothing but Shawn in it.
And that's KB's life. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the end of the show. We're going to sign off. Bye.
Bye.